ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी कारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौ भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Is there a little low bandwidth or what? Bandwidth is less. Maybe clarity is not there. So Hare Krishna, we welcome everyone for today morning reading. We are reading from Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter. We did our reading yesterday, and we kind of covered 4 verses. The 5th verse is what we're going to speak now. So here Lord Shri Krishna is introducing on the subject matter of his relationship with this Prakriti as well as with the living entities. Or let me put it other way around. Lord Shri Krishna here in this set of verses declare himself as the source of all energies. That's what we were discussing yesterday. So Arjuna had a thought, my dear Lord, how can we see you? If people ask us, can you show me God? So how do we see you? Lord said, I am present everywhere. I am the original source of energy. And now in 7.4, 7.5, Lord Shri Krishna talks about 2 energies of his. One is called as material energy, another is called as, or you can call it inferior energy in this case, and superior energy. Inferior energy means matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. That is inferior energy, which is being exploited by the superior energy. What is that superior energy? Text number 5. Aparyamritastuvanyam prakritim vidime param Devuta mahabhavu yedam dharati jagat. Aparyamritastuvanyam. Apart from this inferior energy, no, vidime param, there is something superior, what is known as jiva bhutam. Living entities are a superior energy that are exploiting this inferior energy. And who is the source of both this superior and inferior energy is the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. So we're discussing on this concept of energy yesterday. So, puppet. Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior energy. The inferior energy is matter manifested in the form of earth, water. Both forms of material nature, namely gross and subtle, are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energies of the Lord. And it is due to this energy the entire material world functions. So this whole entire material world is nothing but the mix of this inferior and superior energy. Superior energy known as soul, Atma, which drives this body also. And this Atma or soul, which is a dependent source of energy, it's not an independent source of energy, it's a dependent source of energy. The meaning of dependent source of energy, you can compare it to the sun and sunshine. Sunshine is dependent on the sun, it cannot have its own existence. Similarly, we are dependent sources of energy, and we are utilizing the source, the other energies, the other source of energy present in this creation, which are called as inferior energy. So the mix of this superior and inferior energy gives existence to everything in this creation. For example, this planet Earth is also created by somebody, is created. Not only this planet Earth, this whole cosmic entities are being created, which are nothing but a combination of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then we have these big buildings in which we are residing. It is also a combination of the same earth, water, fire, ether, which has been orchestrated by the superior energy, means Jivatma. How to make you understand this? Okay, let it take this way. We remember in the 5th chapter we read about this, how the Jivatma can only desire and then the Paramatma sanctions based on this past activities and credibility, and then it instructs the Prakriti to execute the desire. Now, Prakriti comprises of the material nature and material energy, which also has earth, water, fire, air, ether, five gross elements, and also the mind, intelligence, physical, which means this body is also nothing but a gift of material nature. So when Paramatma sanctions, then our body is able to execute that task. Otherwise, it cannot execute task. Simple thing. Can anyone even control their passing of stool and urine? Can you decide it is 6:45 now and 7:30 every morning, 1 p.m. every afternoon, and 9 p.m. every night? I will pass urine. How many of you can do that? Even that basic functionality is not in our hand. You getting it? Even that basic functionality we cannot perform. So in that sense, this is being described here that how we are all controlled, we are dependent, and now we being a superior energy of the Lord, we are exploiting this material nature through which different products are produced, which takes different forms and shapes and names. They exist for some time and then ceases to exist. That is what is going on. Let's say 200 years ago, 300 years, let's say 500 years ago, weapons included swords, bows and arrows. 100 years down the line today, weapon includes, let's say, machine guns, pistols, things like that. Now, what is the major difference in these two? Is nothing but a transformation of matter, yes or no? It has just taken a different shape. That is the point here. And how it has taken a different shape? Again, the superior energy is exploiting the inferior energy. 500 years ago, the inferior energy was organized in a particular way, which gave you swords, bows, and arrows. Now, 500 years later, which means today, the same Jivatma is utilizing the same inferior energy to produce machine guns, rockets, and whatnot. Is that same? This is what the whole comedy, and this is how the whole creation is existing. That is what is being described here. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity, which means, this anything in this creation has not come on its own. Now, earth, water, fire, for example, planet Earth. Now, very interesting. Now, how is the planet Earth producing grains? How the planet Earth is providing drinking water to all of us? How the planet Earth is rotating and revolving in its own orbit? Who is doing that? It says the cosmic manifestation has no power. It's a part of infinite energy. It doesn't have a soul. So the cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy. Now the water is present here. You build, let's say you build pipes, you dig canals, whatever you do. It is done by the living entities. But this whole cosmic manifestation is done by another living entity. We have Brahma, who manages things. And Brahma is governed by the Supreme Personality Godhead. That's the point here. Everything that is happening in this creation is executed by a living spark under the direction of the Supreme Consciousness, the Absolute Truth. Energies are always controlled by the energetics. And therefore, the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They're never equally powerful as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entity and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 87.30, which means the fire spark cannot equal the whole fire. They may have the same characteristic, just like of controlling, but they are not same. You're getting the point of quantity and quality now? So we are dependent sources of energy. We also have certain power to, to control the other sources of energy, which are infinite energy, but we are not independent, whereas the Lord is independent. The translation of this verse: O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. Simple. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Otherwise, why law of karma would function at us? Why we are bound by the modes of material nature? Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. So what is in good interest for us? To understand we are dependent on the mercy of the Lord and take shelter of the Lord, and that is what going to deliver us from the bondages that keeps us bound to this world. In that constitutional position, only they can be controllers. Therefore, man with limited knowledge who advocates the monastic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion, which means the statement that you practice some yoga asanas, meditation, japa tapa, and you will become the ultimate source of energy. That's not possible. The minute source of energy cannot become an ultimate source of energy by any manipulation. Ultimate source of energy, which means same thing, the fire spark becoming the sun in itself. That doesn't happen. It is not the sun is producing many suns here. Sun is sun and it produces sunshine. The Supreme Lord Krishna is only control, all living entities are controlled by them, controlled by him. The living entities are his super energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, but then however equal to Lord in quantity of power. Why Jivatma is said to be superior energy of the Lord? Because in quality, they are same as the Lord. Just like the sunshine also has a potential to cause fire and produce heat and give light. Yes, when it is put into a proper situation, it can produce heat, light, and cause fire. That is the point. So same qualities we have, that's the reason we are called as superior energy. Whereas the matter does not have. We are chetak, we are chetana. And it is the matter, inferior energy is considered to be dead matter. It does not have, like this body does not have anything if soul is not present. So that gets utilized. So while exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energies, the Jivatma forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. Prabhupada makes this point even in his chanting Hare Krishna explanation of that we are put into this forgetful situation because of the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of the illusory material energy, he attains a stage of mukti. The false ego under the influence of material illusion thinks, I am matter, and material acquisitions are mine. His actual position is realized when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception as becoming one in all respects from God, with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be the only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. So today, let's define mukti in a scientific term as we have been discussing since yesterday. So mukti or liberation means getting freed from the conception of the matter or getting freed from the attachment to matter. What is the conception of matter? Attachment to matter. The more we attach to the matters, to our acquisitions, to our possessions, to that degree we remain victimized by matter. Is it making sense? So renunciation is a path where a person at least artificially gives up matter. Now what all comprises of matter? His possessions. Similarly, his material relationships. We call his material relationships because that is also temporary. He artificially gives up everything. That is called a renunciation. Now what does a devotee of the Lord does? He does not give it up as it has been mentioned here. What we have to do is we have to take shelter of the Lord to become free from this illusion. So what a devotee of the Lord does, he utilizes and he engages everything that he has in the service of the Lord so that the Lord would set him free from this illusion that I am this body. Are you getting the point? Two different sides. One is of the yogi and jnanis who artificially renounce everything. They say, naiti, naiti, everything is false. But yet they cannot set themselves free because it is not under anyone's jurisdiction. Nobody can set oneself free from the magical spell of Lord. However, if we engage everything in the service of the Lord, then Lord can set us free of this magical spell. And that is what is called as mukti, which means now we are disconnected from matter. Okay, let me put it this way, to put it visually. The moment the living entity enters this creation, the material world, a bond is created between him and matter, which is unbreakable by the self. the individual cannot break that bond. That bond can only be broken by the Supreme Lord. Is that making sense? And just like a prisoner who is set behind the prison bar, he cannot escape. There is no prison break. Only the jailkeeper, when he opens the prison house or prison door, then the prisoner can walk free. So we have to act in such a way that the jailkeeper sets us free, rather than saying everything is false. The prison is false, my existence is false. It does not solve, because you still remain within the prison. Now, text number 6 onwards. So there was a whole discussion on this. We'll move forward quickly now. Now, text number 6, where Krishna says, both of these are my energies. Etadyonini bhutani sarvaniti vadharya aham krishnasya jagatah prabhava pralayastata. All created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. Everything is, in other words, under my control. Purport. Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because the supreme energy spiritual is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of this universe is developed because of the presence of the super soul, Vishnu. So, just like the body is created because of the presence of the soul, similarly, because of the presence of the super soul, the soul creation have grown into its form and shape. Now, it has also its time of birth, and it also undergoing its growth. The Brahma comes into the picture, and then there's a secondary creation. That's the point here. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this gigantic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord. And consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely living entities, may be cause of the big skyscraper, factory, city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. Again, very beautiful point. It's just a logical thing. Now, if a man is held responsible, or let's say man takes the credit of building a city, building a dam, building a port, building an airport. Think about it. We recently visited to Jaipur, so we know that it was established by Jai Singh. Similarly, Udaipur is established by Uday Singh. Every fort is established by some individuals. Yes, you talk about airports, you talk about anything. The city are built by somebody. Now maybe the cities are built by the state government or the country. So when everything in this creation, what we see, has come into existence because somebody has done it, it's just a simple logical understanding or conclusion that this whole universe, which has been created in its current form and shape, must have been done by something. Yes or no? Now, how can we say that this creation has come by a bomb blast, Big Bang Theory, but what we are creating is my credit? What we are creating is my credit. Now, why don't we give credit to Kumar Builders and Pranjape for Blue Ridge? We can go and tell, Arey, you have not done anything. It was an explosion. That also happened by chance. Why are you putting your name into it? Even the scientists who put the theory, why they put their name like this? So, I mean, so much we are kind of cheated today. In other words, day by day, the illusion is increasing, but people cannot even understand the simple logical conclusions. The cause of the big universe is the big soul or the super soul, and the Krishna, the supreme, is the cause of both the big and small soul. Therefore, is the original cause of all. This is confirmed in Katha Upanishad. Therefore, the 7th chapter is very, very important. And now Krishna says how I am the cause of everything. Mada paratram nanyat kinchitasti dhananjaya mai sarvadam protram sutrimaniganaiva. I'll conquer well, there is no truth superior to me, everything rests upon me, as per Sashnangana Purport. There's a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the truth is, absolute truth is the personality regarded Krishna. This is confirmed in every step, which means in every verse. In this verse in particular, it stressed that absolute truth is a person. The personality regarded as the supreme absolute truth is also a formation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Who is the primal Lord, the dissolve all pleasure, go in the internal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities that leave no doubt that absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of Vedic version given in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Tato yad uttartaram tad arupam anamayam yad eta vidu amritaste bhavanti atetare dukam evapyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the prime living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalists put more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, Satchit Ananda, as described in Brahma Samhita. So when it is said arupam, which means it does not have any material form. Similarly, when it is said nirgunasya, which means it does not have any material modes or characteristics, nirgunasya. So which they fail to understand. That's a point mentioned here. Reading across the verses, I know that the Supreme Personality Godhead who is transcendental to all material conception and darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There's no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he's the supremest. He's small, the smallest, and he's greater than the greatest. Like that has been described here. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality Godhead who is pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. Text number 8. Now, text number 8 to 12, Krishna would give certain examples of how he can be perceived in day-to-day activities. So far here, Lord Shri Krishna have explained, given a high-level understanding that how this whole creation, I'm the source of all the energies. So whatever energy you see, that is coming from me. That is being established. Now, how we can see Krishna into our day-to-day activities is been described in text number 8 onwards. Rasoham apsukanteya prabhasmi shashi surya pranava sarva vedeshu shabdake purusham nishu. Rasoham, apsu means water. I am the taste of the water. Ras, aham means I. Apsu means water. Prabhasmi shashi surya. Prabha means light. Asmi means I. Shashi means moon. Surya means sun. I am the light of the sun and moon. Very interesting. I am the light of sun and moon. According to Vedic cosmology, the moon is not a reflector of solar energy. Moon is itself a source of energy. So what we call as a moonshine is not reflected from sun, is not reflected energy of the sun. What today cosmology teaches us. No. If that would have been the case, why Krishna would say Prabhasmi Sasi Shurya? It should have been Prabhasmi Surya. Because if the moon is reflecting the sun's energy, then there is no meaning of moon's independent energy. And what Krishna is saying? Prabhasmi Shashi Surya. I am the light. I am the light of both the sun and the moon. So Prabhupada very categorically writes, the moon has its own effulgence. It's a moonshine. It is not reflected from, and that is not possible also. Why? Because moon is at a greater distance than the sun, like that. So that just this makes it very clear if you're trying to understand from this perspective. So the cosmology which is being taught and things that have been taught to us are still not up to the mark, as it had always been the case. At one point of time, Earth was the center of the whole creation. That was a geocentric model. No, geocentric model. And what is the sun? Heliocentric, yeah. A geocentric model. And it remained for more than 1500 years. People believe like that. And when later on, when you had the telescope and other things, let's say 500 years, 600 years ago, when they discovered telescope and when they figured it out, I don't know how still looking up in the sky, you can figure it out who is moving. You're getting the point? It's about the movement. And it's a relative movement. Geocentric means everyone is rotating around us. Heliocentric means everything rotating around sun. Now, everything rotating around sun, when you are on any of the position, it seems the other object is moving. Yes or no? So I don't know how through, again, telescope they figured it out. There's a heliocentric model. It's extremely difficult. Unless somebody who is above in the sky tells you who is actually moving. See, what is not moving is sky. Let's look at the physics, simple physics. What is not, for example, let's give you an example of a train on a platform. There are two trains on the platform. How many of you have an experience when you're sitting in a cabin in a train and there's a movement? Sub-movement because you see something is moving. How many of you have got confused? Looks like the other train is moving. And you end up realizing it was not the other train, you were moving. Your train was moving. Have you had that experience? And the vice versa. Now, who can reconcile it properly? Who's standing on the platform, which is stationary. Please understand. Unless you're on a stationary ground and outside of the situation, event, let's say somebody is standing on the bridge, and if he sees, he can very clearly say who is moving, who is stationary, which means until you go to the sky, which is until your position is detached from both the objects which are moving or not moving, which are supposed to move, you cannot say which is stationary and which is moving. So the scientists coming to this heliocentric model, I would say, would probably be largely a fluke, case of a luck, than a scientific research. Because how can you perform a scientific research while you're sitting on an object which is also moving? It's not possible. It's very difficult. Nonetheless, our Shastric Praman says, well, our Vedic cosmology has a different understanding altogether. Our Vedic understanding is Earth is not moving. Earth is stationary. Now, I don't know, you want to call it a heliocentric or geocentric? Actually, it is Dhruva-centric. The Vedic cosmology is Dhruva-centric. You know, everything is rotating around. Dhruva planet ko kya kehte hain? Dhruva planet only, right? Huh? Pole star, pole star. Yes, pole star. Now, by the way, just FYI for you, neither it is heliocentric nor geocentric. It is polar-centric. Pole star, sorry, pole-centric. Everything is rotating around pole star. And not everything is rotating. Earth is not rotating. This Bhumandal is not moving. Disk is stationary. It is a movement of the sun and the moon that goes around. So as I said, I mean, we just got in a little bit of cosmology. Even the current model of heliocentric is faulty. So for them to figure it out. So why was I saying all this thing? Shashi Surya. I was making a point that when Krishna says, I am the light of the sun and moon, so science teaches us the moon reflects the sunshine. That is not fact. It's wrong. Hey, by the way, just to let you know one interesting thing, sad news, but whatever it is, it's a factual thing. Last night we were going to sleep, I read an article which said Joshimat has sunk by 2.5 centimeters or inches in the last 2 years. How many of you ever had been to Joshimat and have been to Narasimhadev temple there? How many of you? Let's look at our congregation online. Anyone, have you been to Joshimat? Oh, really? Better make a trip ASAP. There is a Lord Narasimhadev's temple, and there's a beautiful deity of Lord Narasimhadev, which was discovered from the lake nearby. It's a very ancient deity of Narasimhadev. But 1,000 years ago, when Shankaracharya ji had traveled north and south, east and west, Shankaracharya ji had discovered from a lake, which was thought impossible to swim also, but he swam and he discovered the deity and installed the deity, which had been installed prior to it for ages together, centuries together, millennia together. Now this, according to the Sthal Purana there is a story, if you don't mind. How many of you are interested if I tell you that story and continue Bhagavad Gita? Okay, so let me tell you a story. So, according to Sthal Puran, there are two Badri Vishal there. Badrinath, Badri Vishal. So one, as we know of today, Badrinath, there is Badri Vishal, and there is secondary Badri Vishal, which is up on the hill of Joshimat on a different route. So according to the Sthal Puran, Lord Narasimhadev's wrist, right hand or left hand, I don't remember exactly, that wrist is shrinking, which is indicating the Joshimat is sinking. And the moment that wrist, I remember categorically seeing, I believe it was a left wrist, you can see a considerable difference between the left and the right wrist. And it is described when that left wrist shrinks and falls down, breaks and falls down, then Joshimat will disappear. Joshimat will disappear. Then Badri Vishal that we know of Badrinath would be inaccessible thereafter. Then Badrinath, the Badri Vishal deity, that we cannot access, that is out of access then. Then the secondary Badri Vishal deity which is kept, we went last time, we went there also, that will become that's where the temple would be established. That's where temple worship would happen. Right now, there is one family who in his lineage from God knows from how many generations, एक छोटी सी कुटिया में वो बद्री विशाल का विग्रह रखा हुआ है. वहाँ पे उनकी सेवा होती है. वहाँ पे जो जंगली फूल फल होते हैं उनको अर्पण करे जाते हैं. आज भी वो सदियों से वहाँ वो विग्रह रखा हुआ है. Interesting story. So I was thinking, let's make a quick visit to one last visit to Joshi Mutt. It is anyway sinking pretty fast, and before anything major happens. Anyways, that was an FYI. Interesting thing. Oh, son of Kunti, I'm the taste. So I made this story just to tell you that Shastrik Praman. That's the reason I was saying. So as Krishna says here, I am the light of the sun and the moon, which makes that's it. The moonshine is not a reflection of sunshine, period. Because Krishna says, I am the light of the sun and moon here. The syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, Pranavas Sarva Vedeshu. So whatever you speak, not what you speak today in English and Hindi, which means whatever you speak in Sanskrit, it's nothing but Krishna. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after visiting Gaya when he came back, the same Vedic knowledge which he was giving before, after taking that, practicing, that performing the role play of taking initiation from Ishvara Puri, when he came back, everything he was explaining in relation to Krishna. Srila Jiva Goswami, even to an extent, composed a dictionary, Sanskrit dictionary, where every word gives a meaning to Krishna. That is what. So, incredible. I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. Whatever we are able to speak, whatever we are able to do, it is coming from where? It is Krishna's energy. That is the meaning. Ability is Krishna's energy. Puppet. The Purport explains how the Lord is all pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies. In this way, he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine. So the Lord, all the national board, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink sea water because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot perceive the present Lord in the water by his taste. The person will also glorify the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. This is the way of perceiving the Supreme Lord. Like that. Next paragraph, the light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahma Jyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. What is the source of solar energy? It is Brahma Jyoti. So sun and the moon are nothing but reflectors, good reflector. Sun, you can say, is a better reflector than the moon for that reason. That's the point here. As it reflects more energy than the moon. And Pranava, the Omkara transcendent sound, is the beginning of every Vedic hymn that addresses the Supreme Lord. Because the impersonal is very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound vibration. But they do not realize that Omkara is a sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion. So knowledge of Krishna is liberation, ignorance of him is bondage. Text number 9. Punyogandha prithivyam cha teja chasmi vibhavaso jivanam sarvabhuteshu tapachasmi tapasvishu. I am the fragrance of the earth. I am the heat in fire. Which means it is Krishna or Krishna's energy which causes digestion in your body. Right? Jataragni. I am the life of all that lives and the penances of all ascetics. But punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the metaphor has a certain flavor of fragrance, as a flavor of fragrance in a flower or in the earth, in water, fire, air, etc. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor which permeates everything is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste, and this taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything original has some smell, some fragrance, and some taste. Vivavasu means fire. Without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook. And that fire is Krishna. So when you go into the kitchen, you light up the fire. Hare Krishna. When you eat food and you get digested, Hare Krishna. When you drink water and it says, it quenches your thirst, Hare Krishna. Your ability to see also is coming from fire. Right? That's a basic science. You understand the ability to see. The heat in the fire is Krishna. According to Vedic medicine, indigestion due to low temperature in the belly. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, fire, everything are due to Krishna. So simple. How many of us say so simple to see Krishna everywhere? But yet we cannot see Krishna everywhere. Yes or no? Even if you memorize this by heart this, can you still see Krishna everywhere? Yes or no? Let's say you have memorized it fully. So much so you can repeat exactly what Prabhupada is saying in this verse. Or let's say from 8th verse to 12th verse, you memorize it thoroughly. You can quote it anywhere, every time. Can you still perceive Krishna everywhere? Yes or no? Why not? Why not? Our online folks, why not can you perceive Krishna? When you have memorized it, everything. That is what our culture is about, right? Knowledge means memorization. If you memorize it, why can't you perceive Krishna? The moment you are thirsty, you go and drink water, you would not remember Krishna. Why? Why not? Why not? Or to put it other way around, then how can you remember Krishna? Yes. Mercy. Whose mercy? Mercy of spiritual master. Correct. That's the point. That is the point is going on here. Our illusion cannot be removed by ourselves. That has to be removed by higher authority. Authority which is beyond illusion. So even if we know of it, and we probably, some of us might be knowing this verse for years together. मैंने कम से कम 2007 में पहली बार भगवद गीता पढ़ी थी. कितने साल हो गए? 15 साल. 15 साल. अभी भी पानी पीते भगवान याद नहीं आते. Frankly speaking, 15 साल. अब बात अलग है, हमारा कल्चर बन गया है, कुछ भी करने से पहले महाप्रसाद गोविंद बोल देते हैं. That's a different thing. 15 साल हो गए, अभी भी पानी पीते भगवान नजर नहीं आते. क्यों? That illusion has to be removed by the Lord. इस प्रकार से. All right. बुद्धिर बुद्धिमता, नहीं क्या कर रहे थे हम? हाँ, टेक्स्ट नंबर 10, राइट? बीजमाम सर्वभूतानां विधिपार्था सनातनम बुद्धि बुद्धिमताम अस्मि तेज तेजस्विनामहम् ओसना प्रता. Know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. So when you use somebody intelligent, say, Wah, Krishna's energy. And when you see somebody powerful, Wah, Krishna's energy. And when you see somebody beautiful, again see Krishna. Don't get attracted. That is for me. All right? Papa. Bija means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities moving in it. Bijamam sarvabhutanam. Krishna, aham bija pratapita. So many times Krishna says, I am the seed giving father. So seed of all living entities. Similarly, where does a seed comes from the plants and trees? It is Krishna's energy again. Krishna has manifested it. Birds, beasts, man, everything, all those have been described here. He is the root, few lines below in the purport. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna being the original root of all things maintain everything in this material creation. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Nitya Nityanam Chetana Chetanam Eko Bahunam Yo Vedadati Kama. He is the prime eternal among the eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities. He alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence. Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead. So, buddhi buddhimatam is. One cannot do anything without intelligence. And he is the root of intelligence. Unless a Krishna is intelligent, unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead. Again, it's a case of mercy. When Krishna blesses the individual with an intelligence by which only he can understand him. Text number 11. Balam balvatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamasmi bharasasava. I am the strength, balam of the strong. Kamaraga vivarjitam, devoid of passion and desire. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu, I am the sex life. Kamasmi, which is not contradictory to religious principle. Dharma viruddha, O Lord of Bharata. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life, according to religious principles, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious. Text number 12 and concluding verse for today. Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasa tamasa chaye matta eveti tam vidhi natu aham te shute mahi. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Somebody would like to read the purport, please? Yes, Mother Hindu, go ahead. Unmute and read the purport. You can unmute yourself now. Yes.
Sorry, yes, all material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished, but the king, the lawmaker, is not the subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna. But Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is nirguna, which means that these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
That's it. Nirguna means without material qualities. With that, we come to a conclusion of the second part of the seventh chapter. Now, Arjuna would have a question. My dear Lord, if you're all pervasive, why there is a wholesale denial of your presence? Now, Krishna will talk about his magical spell, modes of material nature, that we shall see tomorrow from 13th verse. Jagadru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.